So, Songs of Syx is a city builder game, and it's sort of a mix between something like SimCity and Civilization. In order to play it, you need to start a random game, and here you get to choose a couple of options. So, this advantage, the higher the number is, the bigger advantage that you have. So, it doesn't mean your population is going to use more furnishing, it means they will use less furnishing, or it will last 200% longer. Right. So the size of the world map doesn't really matter for the size of your city, but it does matter for the amount of other factions and the amount of potential trade. The latitude also matters, as you should still see all of the possible biomes available. However, it will shift the balance from either mostly temperate and central to mostly cold with a cold climate, or with a northern latitude, or mostly warm climates with a southern latitude. And then the map itself, you can choose several maps. I think one of the nicest maps is this one. However, you can also choose one that looks like Europe or one that looks like England, and whatever fits your fancy. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, but having more black areas here means you have more guaranteed mountain spawns, which makes for settlements with a lot of access to ores. The starting race also doesn't really matter, as you can ultimately get any other race as population pretty much from the get-go. So it's just the starting 25 to 50 pops, depending on your titles, that this will affect. However, Cretonians are maybe not the best choice for your first playthrough. I would recommend either the Tilapi or maybe even the Dendorians. But then for optimal play, you should really mix your populations, as each race has bonuses to certain skills. So let's just start with Cretonians for the heck of it, and we'll not be enabling any scripts. These are, well, self-explanatory, or you can read what they do, but I don't recommend doing a first playthrough with any of them enabled. So let's start with a small map, and this is the screen that appears if you have played the game before. So as you play, you get certain titles, and then these titles can be used for starting bonuses. I'll not be using these in this tutorial, as there is really no point. Now it's time to pick a starting location. So what you're optimally looking for is an area with good access to all ores, and potentially high in forest land and high in fertility. One of my favorite starting areas would be one that has access to a lot of ores in a region where you can tax several ores as well. For example, in this region, grain, coal, stone, and wood are taxable resources, and that is important in the mid-game and the late game. However, for example, in this region, you can tax Silthalon ore, which is a pretty rare resource, but has very little practical use. It's good for trading, though. So one of my favorite starts would be one that looks like this, where you start off in a mountain valley that also has a river and some forest land. So this location is pretty low in forest, but would probably be acceptable. However, you have to generate the map to see what it's like. You can also regenerate the entire map, getting different options and re-rolling regions. Having switched to my favorite world map type, you can now see that there are several more options for colonizing an optimal area. So, having found a pretty decent region, this one allows the import of coal, iron ore, and sulfilon ore, which are the important resources amongst others. This is also a decent location, having large ore deposits, fairly low fertility and high amount of mountain, but a decent amount of forest land, which is important, and it's temperate as well. So this is a good starting location. You can make note of the seed here and the general map location here, and you can re-roll your own map to fit these settings. This is on a large map, so not small, not huge, large map. So once you've chosen your location, you press settle. The generated map will be your map for the entire playthrough. It's good to take stock of what resources are available and where. In order to better see the resources, you can choose different views. And switching to resources, you can see each one. This is sulfilon ore, and the brighter the tiles are and the bigger the symbol is, the more resource is available on that tile. So this map has acceptable amounts of iron ore, sulfilon ore, stone, and gems, enough to fuel each one of their respective industries, enough to support a population of 10,000. The thing is, you don't really need to have these resources on your map, as you can always trade for them, but it's nifty and it's sort of fun to be able to make each and every one of them profitable in your own colony. What you have to do next is set down your throne room, and this will spawn your throne, some resources, and your population. And you want it placed somewhere mildly out of the way, but still towards the middle, as your populations or your people take time to travel around to different tasks, so you don't want to have to send them to the entire other end of the map right at the beginning of the game. This, I think, is the perfect location to start building in. And now that the map generation aspect has been presented, actually building your settlement will be covered in other tutorials.